Hello everyone, good evening, welcome to St Mary's, which certainly since we've been here has had a few cosmetic changes, not least the fact that the away fans are now positioned in the opposing corner, but anyway, that's by the by. Let's bring you the Norwich City lineup for the game tonight. It is Kovacevic in goal, Stacey, McConville, Cordoba and Fisher at the back four, Field and Kenny McLean the midfield two, Makoma on the right, Ali Ahmed on the left, and Anis Ben Slimani behind Mateus Christgoren. So a couple of lines from that is that Rory McConville starts, and so too does Sam Field in midfield for Norwich. Just to run through that for you again, Kovacevic in goal, Stacey, McConville, Cordoba and Fisher the back four, Field and McLean the midfield two, Makoma on the right, Ahmed on the left, and Slimani behind Christgoren. The subs bench is Molden, Medic, Darling, Matson, Springett right, Gibbs, Mundle-Smith and Mankwa Forson. So just to run through that bench for you again, it's Molden, Medic, Darling, Matson, Springett right, Gibbs, Mundle-Smith and Forson. So lots to unpick there, Paddy, but I guess the headline really, Rory McConville returns.
Yes, he does. And, I think there was footage of the team flying down to Southampton and he was part of that. So you thought, well, okay, that sounds quite encouraging because Philippe was very guarded yesterday, both about him and no Creseni on the bench either, is there? So I think that's pretty clear in terms of Creseni. I thought it might be a bit too soon for McConville, but as we know, on Monday he was included in the Northern Ireland squad. And as I tried to say to Philippe yesterday, well, you would have thought there'd be consultation between medical teams from respective country and club. He wouldn't have been in there if he wasn't clearly close enough to actually start tonight, and that is a big boost. So I don't think Darling really has been quite at the same level as him and Cordoba as a pair. So from what you feel will be quite a test tonight, to have him fit and available is, I think that's a real positive. And obviously Fisher's versatility is underlined again, playing on the left-hand side. And the way Southampton like to play, I think his defensive, and Stacey for that matter, defensive responsibility is going to be key tonight. I think it's going to be less about them getting forward and more about, as Philippe said, mistake-free football. That's what we'll decide tonight, I'm pretty sure. And maybe because of that, maybe the insurance of Field in from the start. We know Matson has come straight back in and started Saturday, but if you're managing him back from an ankle injury that kept him out for 8 games, maybe Charlton will see him start, and that would make perfect sense. It's also quite bold, isn't it, to go Mahoma, Slimani and Ahmed as a 3. That clearly, as Philippe said yesterday, suggests, while they respect the threat of Southampton, they're going to come here and try and impose themselves and try and play their game. And having those 3 in behind Christgoren, that's a real, in transitional moments, in counter moments, it's a real positive. For me, I know they wasn't both on the pitch at the same time, but it feels very Leicester vibe for me that, they will expect the home team to try and be the aggressor, but in those turnover moments with those type of players on the pitch, they can hurt any team in this league. So, and I think if you look at Southampton, their strongest suit is going forward. I think less so defensively. There are opportunities to test them, and that 4 will certainly do that. So, some interesting calls there. What stands out for you, mate?
Yeah, I think the points you made really. Sam Field agreed. We debated this on Saturday actually, didn't we? Whether Matson would then be able to go again tonight, and that quick turnaround after coming back from an injury. I mean, he's good and he's fit and he's got a good physical base and all of this stuff, but maybe not quite to that extent where he's able to go twice in a few days, and like you say, gives them an opportunity to start at Charlton, which maybe if you're from the outside looking in, you might feel is slightly more suited maybe to what he can offer. I think Sam Field tonight, the type of game that it is, and quality that Southampton have, still a year 1 parachute team. I think that makes sense in terms of stabilising it, and I think what we have seen is he will offer Norwich solidity and balance in terms of the way that they play. And then, obviously on top of McConville's return, I think it's Paris Magoma, isn't it? And him coming in on that right side. I think this is the first time we've seen Makoma and Slimani start together. They've kind of been dovetailing, and we've seen one dip out for the other in mid-game, and I think we've been impressed probably by both of them. I mean, no Norwich player has more goal contributions than Anis Ben Slimani since the start of January. Ali Ahmed equal to him. And Makoma clearly has made a big impact in terms of the way that he's been performing and playing, the creativity that he injects. But yeah, I'd agree with you. It's a big call that tonight to put him in here, and it's going to require probably a lot more defensive work from him. And then otherwise, I think it's the fullbacks, isn't it? Callum Fisher at left back. We know he's probably Norwich's best right back, but clearly being forced to do a job out of position. It's a weird one because even though you're changing sides, so much of your natural game changes because he will want to, with his right foot, come inside the pitch, take the ball into central areas as opposed to opening up the channel. But I think there's a nice balance on both flank there in terms of on that right side you've got Stacey who wants to go down the line, and I think you've got Maghoma who, when Norwich are in possession, will drift inside to those kind of central pockets and number 10 positions. And on the flip side of that, you've got Ahmed who can retain the width but also wants to drive inside. I think when he gets the ball, we've seen that's been abundantly clear with Callum Fisher, who will definitely be pushing inside the pitch. So balance there. Good to see that kind of defensive partnership restored. The midfield one we've seen before, and what Samfield playing does free up Kenny McLean to go and impact things from an attacking perspective. And then, I think you'd have to say at the moment that's Norwich City's best attacking three behind Matthias Christgården, who, Paddy, as we spoke about before the game on Saturday, feels like he's been unlucky. He's had 2 headers clear off the line in successive games, but certainly if you're Matthias Christgården, you look at that front three behind you and you feel encouraged about the chances that you may well get.
Well, you'd hope so, and what I liked, and I thought it was right as well to emphasise it, was, don't lose the faith. You've gone 3 games leading the line. 2 of those you've had headed clearances off the line, denying you goals, but easy to maybe get a little bit frustrated about that, knowing full well that this is kind of an extended audition for him in his favoured position, with Motore edging ever closer, and we'd expect him back pretty much the other side of the international break. But Clement made a point of saying after the Saturday's game, look, I'm not come from the dressing room, I've just spoken to him about that. I said and told him effectively, as he said previously with Toure and with Maghoma, in the team that he's got now on the park, if you're a striker in this team, you will get chances game in, game out, because the players will bring the ball to you in the areas that you can inflict damage inside the penalty area. And it just hasn't happened for him these last 2 or 3 games. None of that means, do I think he is the profile of striker that Philippe Clement would necessarily gravitate towards? No, I don't think that is the case. And maybe moving beyond the end of the season, we'll see how that plays out. We'll probably get a clearer indication when Motore is back and available. If Motore comes straight back in and Christgården comes back out, you've probably got your answer. But in the here and now, I think that was the right message, really. Don't get frustrated. Don't feel that you almost need to deliver goals, otherwise you're not worth your place in his team. If you can be part of contributing to a side that are winning games, and he has done that, to be fair, then crack on. And but it would be nice tonight, just for him on a personal level, if he could get himself a goal. And as always, certainly with strikers, you get a goal, confidence will start to flow, and then we might see, a little bit more of the pedigree that enticed Norwich to bring him to Bromley for 7 million last summer. And there is a player in there. I think we can all see it. Maybe not quite a natural player in a Clement system, but needs must right now. And he shouldn't lack for chance creation when you've got Ahmed, Slimani and Maghoma on the pitch.
No, I would agree, and different types of supply line as well. Ahmed in terms of the pace and power that he brings to wide areas, and then I think Slimani in terms of the efficiency, and Maghoma in terms of the creativity. It feels like quite a nice balance behind Matthias Christgården tonight. Let's bring you the Southampton team then tonight. As I'm sure people will be aware, is a battle of the 2 in-form teams in the Championship, and this is how Tom Eckhart Saints line up. They have got Paritz in goal, Bree, Harwood, Bellis, Stevens and Manning as their back 4, Flynn Downs and Janda as the midfield 2, Masuki, who's been in good form, with Adozi on the other flank, Finn Azaz behind Larin up front. Their subs bench: Jones, Wood, Kwashi, Romeu, Charles, Bragg, Fellows, Archer and Yakunyul as well. So that is how they line up. Southampton head into this game unbeaten in 9. You can stretch that to 11 in all competitions. They, of course, are preparing for an FA Cup quarter-final against Arsenal here after that international break, which is going to be fascinating for them. But that's how they line up. A really good or really interesting team selection there, and also some really good form that they are in. Paddy, just a line about a player who's not in the Norwich team tonight. Emi Marcondes, who was on the bench on Saturday, isn't on the bench tonight. Some reports in Denmark and Sweden, I think, in the last, or definitely in Scandinavia in the last 24 hours about him potentially having his contracts kind of terminated early to free him up to join another club. Clearly not in the plans here. Tony Springett comes back onto the bench for him. What do you make of that situation as we sit here tonight?
Well, we've seen him here, haven't we? So, he's physically here, he's physically part of the group. And, the messaging from when we checked those reports last night, as the Norwich keepers come out to warm up, was not heard anything in terms of that. And, of course, they would need to because he is still contracted to this summer. For me, it reads like the agent laying the groundwork. The report mentions leagues in Norway and Sweden. Both are still open transfer window-wise. I think one of them's until the 27th, and the other one is slightly less. So it feels like maybe they're trying to lay the ground, and if it's not tapping in the here and now, then it's almost putting him on the radar for clubs come the summer. What we know is Norwich would have allowed him to go in January. He had offers. He felt they didn't meet what he wanted, but he's not part of the plans. That much is evident. Yes, he was on the bench Saturday gone, but that's more of a needs-must scenario. He's here tonight and he's not on the bench. And he's barely kicked the ball, hasn't he, under Clement since the turn of the year. So, I think the reality is he will not be part of it moving forward. And it's just a case of when he goes. Does he go at the end of the season, or is it a case that something happens in the next few days? It'd have to be quick, because as I reiterate, if it's going to happen now, those leagues windows are closed within the next 2 weeks or so. But in the here and now, nothing in those reports from the Norwich perspective. But do I expect Emmy Connor to be part of Philippe Clement's squad next season? No. That's clearly a ship that has sailed, and I think his probably career has probably peaked when Torrop was here, and he was feeling like he was going to be a key player. Didn't really happen under Manning, and it's not going to happen under Clement either. So it's just that natural evolutionary process, and he probably won't be the last player in this current roster. Not all who are available tonight, but who won't be part of it moving forward.
Yep, agreed. So that's that one cleared up. In terms of before we talk about this game, Paddy, I think we've got to speak about the context around this game, which clearly was impacted by a game last night, which was Watford beating Wrexham, which has a means for both teams. There are points to be had here today, and points that I'm sure both coaches and teams would very much like in their respective pushes for, I can't really believe I'm saying this, the Championship playoffs, because Southampton win tonight, they move into the top six on goal difference, leapfrogging Wrexham in the process. If Norwich win, I think it's 6 points with obviously a game on Saturday to come. Makes for a potentially very interesting end to the season. So it's there to be had tonight, Paddy, for whoever grabs it.
Well, I think we're looking at it through Norwich perspective, but Southampton win tonight. I think they do knock out Wrexham in that sixth place. So there's their incentive, and in between those two, a Derby, a Watford who won last night, Birmingham. So it's heating up. There is no doubt about that. And if the result goes for Norwich tonight, then of course, that is more than a bridgeable gap with the amount of games left. But it still feels too many clubs and probably too many points separating Norwich to the top six. Said it on the drive down, didn't we? You rue now the two Clement games against Oxford at home, Preston away, both leading going into stoppage time, ended up drawing both games. You add 4 to the total are on now, and there's no doubt about it, they are in the mix. I think still there'd have to be a few sequences of results to go their way in a very short order. And of course, final whistle goes tonight and they've got beat, then there will be a lot of people thinking that is the end of it, and it might not necessarily be it. But for me, it's probably it's too unlikely a scenario. Both from Norwich would have to go almost faultless between now and the end of the season, and you've got some very tough games, this one included, and you need favours from multiple clubs. I just don't see those two worlds colliding. But we've just spent 2 minutes talking about it. Philippe Clement tried to get him on it yesterday, wasn't really having it, but nevertheless, fans post-Preston in increasing numbers are talking about it, and that is a testament to 42 points from 22 games, as Clement himself said. It's remarkable. And I'm just enjoying that we can talk about that rather than look at the results happening and down the bottom. What does that mean for Norwich? Will that impact Norwich? No, that's gone. That's done. That's dusted. Mission completed. And now it's just, irrespective of playoffs or not, just finish the season strong inside the top 10, moving forward, and then bounce into the summer and next season.
Yep, well, the league, I've got the league table in front of me tonight. A win, which this is obviously Norwich's game in hand on a lot of clubs who are above them currently. If they could win here tonight, they would move on to 54 points, and that would see them leapfrog Swansea and Birmingham in the process into 10th. It would put them a point behind Watford, 3 points behind Derby, and who they play tonight, Southampton, and 6 points behind Wrexham. So that would make things very, very tasty indeed, heading into the final 8 or 7 games of the season that would be left thereafter. And as Paddy mentioned, still to come: Ipswich at home, Millwall away, Hull away. They still got to play Derby at home. Swansea they've got to play. All teams currently above them in the table. Bristol City in there as well. So not much left now there at Norwich in terms of the bottom end of the table, and it's all there to play for, which is what we wanted at this stage. They've taken the very scenic route, but a win tonight would feel massive for maintaining some of those dreams. If not, I think, as you say, Paddy, in terms of the league table, it begins to look a little bit more of a stretch for them. So it does feel like tonight is really pivotal. On that theme, what are you expecting tonight in terms of a game of football? Because, as I said, Southampton are unbeaten in 9 in the Championship and 11 in all competitions, and probably a meeting of the 2 informed sides here tonight.
And obviously they come off the back of winning Coventry, who, putting my allegiances to one side, were on an unbelievable winning run. So they will be absolutely full of confidence and momentum, as Norwich are. But it's what's that saying? It's the immovable object meets irresistible force. So I've butchered it, but you just can't really. I don't think you can call it. Clearly, Southampton at home tonight, you would tip towards them, but anytime we've thought that this season away from home, certainly in 2026, and I'm thinking Wrexham, I'm thinking Oxford, West Brom, Leicester, this team under Clement surprise you, and it would not surprise me if they get a result tonight, I have to be honest. And now I've seen that 11, and I like the attacking edge to that player selection. I'm going to go positive and go draw, which, whether that...
No draw for 16 games, no?
No, well, it's got to happen sometime, hasn't it? So, but an entertaining one, nevertheless. I think both teams will have a real good go, and it certainly won't be a cagey affair. I don't see that at all. But what that would mean in the bigger picture probably wouldn't, it wouldn't quell playoff talk so much, but it would probably put an onus on them going to Charlton then and winning. But of these 2 away games, that feels the easier assignment. So we'll see. But by no manner of means do I think Norwich are coming here and just going to roll over, because that is not in the DNA of Philippe Clement and this group of Norwich players. So, I'm going to go positive draw. You, Connor?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Nick. I feel like I agree with Nick quite a lot when he puts these predictions up. I think it's going to be 2-1, but I'm struggling to point which way it will go to.
1-2. Or 2-1.
Either way, I could see Southampton winning 2-1 and Norwich winning 2-1. I think I'll go for a home win just. I think the form that they're on, that carrot of getting into the top 6, but I'm doing it for reverse psychology reasons. That's what I'll say. And then obviously, if Norwich can do it, because we're obviously so great at predictions. But I think it's going to be a really entertaining game. You think about where Norwich have gone and fallen short in 2026. The 2 recently, it was Birmingham where they started poorly, and I think probably should have got a point out of that game at the very least, with Beadle making about 9 saves that he did in the end. And then Middlesbrough, which I think is slightly comparable to this one. I think Middlesbrough are a better side, but Southampton, with the form that they're in, with obviously the prize that is on the line here, and how well they're playing, the quality of players they have, it feels to me like that is a comparable test, I think. And Norwich were, for the majority of that game, pretty good, I thought, and probably unlucky to lose that game. So I could see that tonight, maybe just a 1 goal in it either way. But it'd be fantastic if Norwich can win it, and hopefully they can too. Let's get some of your predictions. Neil is going. Well, he said Ben went 2-1 to Norwich. Sam went for a Desmond 2-2. Taylor saying, "Come on." What else have we got down here? We've beaten them once. They'll be aware of that. 2-1. Ollie saying 1-2 as well. Worth noting as well. Bethany saying 2-2. Could see that. I think it's worth noting as well. Norwich have only won here once, which was in 2008. And it was Ched Evans was the scorer that day for a Glen Roeder team. And there's been quite a few meetings since. I think the last time we were here, it was that mad 4-4 draw under David Wagner. Plenty of scorelines here. Gary going 1-1, Taylor 2-2, Charlie going 1-0 Norwich, Pink and Morph going 1-1, and Niall going 3-0. So there we go. Lots of varying score predictions. It's going to be fascinating to see how it goes, and we will be across our channels tonight to bring you all the coverage, analysis, and reaction. And goodness me, if Norwich City can win it, then blimey, that does put a cat amongst the pigeons in terms of looking upwards in the Championship table. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Safe travels to all those on their way to St Mary's who are going to be opposite us. As I say, there's been a few facelifts here. I don't know what we've done, Paddy, but essentially we're in the half of the press box that there's nobody else in.
We're in quarantine, Connor.
And literally everyone else is down that side.
We're in quarantine. I don't know.
I don't know who we're upset, but yeah, there we go. We'll see how this goes. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you again very soon.